Welcome back everybody. This is a follow-on video to the last video that you've probably seen where we talked about decorators and what they should be charging in 2026 or how they should be charging in 2026. Now this is the follow-on video from it, so if you're interested, clearly you're here now, because what we're going to be talking about is actually how you actually price a room up or a house properly. Now, and we're going to say without rushing it, without guessing, and without actually underselling yourself. So if you want to know a little bit more, please stay with this video. I'm Phil Beckwith, the professional painter and decorator, and I'll talk you through a few things that I want to give across with my years of experience in the painting and decorating trade. Right, so here we are. So I'm trying to make it really simple to people that are probably new to the trade. They might have just come out of college, they might have just recently gone self-employed, or they just want a little bit of an insight, a bit of reassurance on what I'd be doing, or actually what I can actually put across and tell you on how you need to be pricing rooms up, or actually a house. Now, if it is a house, I'm going to say to you straight away, don't let pricing a job daunt you, because pricing shouldn't scare you. Don't try and price the whole house all in one go. Now, if somebody says, I want you to price from top to bottom, that's a big job, and you go, I don't know what to do. All you've got to do is break it down. Break it down room by room, section by section, and element by element. And we're going to come on to that next. Right, the first thing I'd be doing when I go to a job, you've got to talk to your customer. You've got to actually have some people skills and some communication skills, because you've got to find out from what the customer, what they're actually wanting. So get an idea of what the scope of work is going to be. So before you even think about getting any numbers down, talk to the customer and see what actually they want doing. And then you do that before you start advising on what they actually need to have done. Now, every job's going to be different, I know, but let's just have this quite simply for the people that are just coming into the industry, that they want to know how to actually price a room up when they go into a new customer's house, probably for that first time. Right, your work. You've got to think about your work and your prep. Now, prep is the biggest area that decorators seem to underprice, and that probably is with some other trades as well. So you've got your filling, you've got your sanding, you've got your caulking, you've also got your spot priming, you've got your masking. Don't forget you've got your taping up and your sheeting up and actually protecting what the customer's furniture is in that room. So prep takes, let's get this word out, prep takes time, and time needs to be allowed for in your costings. So the longer you think you're going to be on that prep, make sure that you're actually covering yourself and you're not going to be selling yourself short when it comes to the actual time taken on that actual job. The main thing what you've got to do is when you go into a room, you've got to actually be thinking about working out the painting sequence. Now, traditionally what you'd be doing, and people are going to be shouting at me when I say something else, you'll be looking at painting your ceiling first, you'll be looking at painting your walls first, and you'll be looking at doing your woodwork last. So when you go into a room, what have you got to do? You've got to be thinking about all that prep you do before you actually open a tin of paint. Now, depending on the sequence that you're working to, and depending on what actually job you're doing and experience you've got, you might find that you've moved into the lines of, I've got a sprayer and I'm going to be spraying things. Now, spraying is totally a different kettle of fish than somebody who's coming in with a brush and a roller, because you'll probably find that you'll spray the ceilings, you'll spray the woodwork, you'll tape up that woodwork, and you might even be brushing and rolling the walls last. Likewise, if you're actually doing wallpapering, you might be doing the ceiling, you might be getting the woodwork done, and you might be finishing off with your papering last. But if you've got lining paper to do, that's one of your first jobs to do before you actually start any painting. So your ceiling will be prepped, your walls will be prepped, your woodwork will be prepped, you'll get your walls lined, you'll get your ceiling finished with paint, you'll get your woodwork finished with paint. Now that could be spraying, or it actually could be brushing and rolling, but your last job on a job that's requiring wallpapering is the finished wallpaper that will be going on. So just bear that in mind. What you've got to be thinking of as well, you've got to be thinking how long it will take to paint that ceiling for one coat. So when we're talking about a sequence and you're actually pricing these jobs, you've got to be looking at it. Right, I'm going to get a coat on the ceiling. How long is that going to be taking to dry? Then you've got another coat. While that's drying, what else can you get done? So you'll work your days out like that. What can I do on that first day? How long is that ceiling going to take? How long is the walls going to take? And how long is the woodwork going to take? Experience will get you a long way with this. But if you're new to it, there will be a little bit of trial and error. I don't want to say the word guessing, but until you know what speed you can work at, till you know how long it takes you to do something, you will be on a very steep learning curve. So really it is a bit of work out what you'll get done in a day. So as we've just been saying, you've got to be honest with yourself. You've got your day one, which will probably be more likely, and I'm talking about a standard room, nothing massive. Don't get carried away. We're talking about Buckingham Palace rooms where there'll be a lot of everything that needs doing. I'm thinking about the ordinary person's house that is a semi-detached 3-bedroom, that the room size is very manageable. You can work this out quite simply. You'll probably get your prep done in a day, depending on what needs to be done. You'll probably get your ceilings painted. That could only be day one. But then your next day, it might be your walls and your woodwork that you'll get on with. And then it also comes to day 3, which might be your finishing touches. So that might be a 3-day job. It might be a 4-day job. So just weigh up what needs to be done on that room. If you've got stripping, if wallpaper stripping is involved, don't sell yourself short on that. I know a lot of people will be saying, oh, I charge by the day on that because I don't know what I'm coming up against. Again, experience, I will say you take the rough with the smooth on this. Normally, a room stripped out, you could get it done in a day. I'm on about stripping a room out in a day, not stripping it and preparing it. Allow yourself a day for stripping a room out, just in case. You might find you've got it stripped by dinner time. That's on the winning side for you. That means you can actually scrape those walls down and get them ready for preparing and filling up so it's dry for the next day. So that could be day one for you. But you've got to be thinking about this. You've got to think of your prep. You've got to think of your ceilings. You've got to think of your walls, your woodwork, and what you're actually needing to finish off. Don't sell yourself short either on miscalculating how long it takes to actually sheet up a room and actually stripping a room out when you've actually done at the end of the project. Because I'll tell you now, taking up sheets, taking up tape, taking up flooring does take longer than you think it will do. So allow for that in your pricing. But what I will say to you is, and it's quite important, if you think you're rushing a job just to make it come in cheaper to win the work, you're going to be underestimating it, because you might think that 3 or 4 day job you'll do in 2 to 3 days. You're going to put yourself under pressure. So what I'm going to say to you is, if you think you're selling yourself short on the amount of time that you're going to be taking on it, you might just need to add another day or 2, depending on what's involved in that room. Let's just touch on that wallpapering side of things. If you have got wallpapering to do, sometimes and quite often, I often find this, I don't actually see the wallpaper until it arrives, which is more than likely in between or nearer the end of the job when I'm coming actually to do that wallpapering. So if you know you've got wallpapering to do on a job, look at that room. Think to yourself, what's the worst case scenario that this wallpaper could be? So just allow yourself enough time. Some people will say, do you know what, I can bang 8 rolls on in a day. I'm going to say happy Mondays. It's not going to be happy Mondays. You will be rushing that. I know full well you'll be rushing that. Now, depending on the quality of the paper, if it's a cheap and cheerful, it might also just be a blown vinyl, a finished blown vinyl that you say, I can get it on in a day. But when you've got some more expensive wallpapers that take a little bit more time actually thinking about the positioning of the paper, the pattern alignment and things like that. If you think you'd be a day normally, allow an extra half a day or even 2 days to be on the safe side. Now, the customer's not going to know whether you've allowed 1 or 2 days because it's an all-inclusive price. But you've got to make sure that you're going to be covering yourself just in case. Now, the person who's on the winning side, if you've said, I'll just charge you by the day for your wallpapering, that's on the side of the customer. You want to be making a little bit more money out of wallpapering. So if you are a painter and decorator that's not branched into the wallpapering side of things because you find it very daunting, I'm going to say start learning wallpapering. Learn from the master paper hangers. Go on the courses that are teaching the basics for painting and decorating and wallpapering, because do you know what? Wallpapering to me is very lucrative. Right, let's just probably move on to another section that people probably get a little bit worried about, and I'm going to say you don't need to worry about it. We're still going to be talking about that Mrs. Smith's 3-bedroom semi that's got a standard size lounge, probably like yours and like mine. You're going to say, Phil, what about paint? I don't know how much paint to be allowing for. Again, you're doing a price, you're giving a whole completed price that includes your labour and your materials. Now let's be honest about things. In this normal size room that you see times many, that ceiling isn't going to be taking any more than 5 litres of paint to stroke 10 litres at the maximum. Depending on what's involved, there might be some deeper covings that takes a little bit more paint than normal, and you might have a bit of a texture if there's a blown vinyl on it that will also take a little bit more paint than normal. But the reality is, now this paint's out there, there's really good paints that a 10 litre tub of a white ceiling paint is only going to be 40 quid. That's at a retail price. You'll probably be getting a discount on that. So if you look at that ceiling and think, do you know what, that's only going to be 5 litres of paint, you can probably halve that 40 quid to 20 quid and say it's only going to take 20 quid's worth of paint. The customer's not going to know that, but you've allowed that in your price for 5 litres of paint. And more than likely you might even have that 5 litres of paint because you bought a 10 litre tub for another job, and you've allowed that this paint there that can be used on another job that you'll price out for when that paint's being used. That's how running a business works. Likewise, move on to your walls. I go in many a room, and I'll be honest, 5 litres is more than enough for a lot of jobs for 2 coats. And we're talking about 2 coats. So if you go into a room that's got a little bit more complex nooks and crannies, and you look at that room and think, do you know what, there's a little bit more height to the walls than normal, it's a little bit wider than normal, your safest bet is probably look at 7.5 litres of paint. Now, depending on the job you're on, you will get a feel for that customer on the standard of paint that they're requiring. They might be a customer that says, do you know what, I want Farrow and Ball. If they want Farrow and Ball, let them have Farrow and Ball. Make them aware that Farrow and Ball comes at a little bit higher cost. Whether you agree with using Farrow and Ball or not, you might say, oh, I want to get it made up in a cheaper paint. But this is quite often, there's times we've got customers that said, I want to be using Farrow and Ball or Little Green, or they specify the paint brand that they want. I've got no problem with that. All I will be doing is charging accordingly. Now, you can get some discounts on Farrow and Ball if you look in the right places, so you can actually make a little bit of money on your materials by charging the retail price but trying to get it even cheaper. And this is where we come when we're actually talking about materials and actually earning a little bit of money out of it. You can sell those materials in your all-inclusive price worked out at being a retail price, but when it actually comes to you purchasing that, you will find that you'll probably get a discount rate with your supplier at a trade rate. The more paint you buy, the cheaper it will be, and you will be making a little bit of money out of that paint that you will be supplying to the customer. So bear that in mind. So the next bit of the room is more than likely the woodwork. Now, let's just face it, there's a lot of ordinary houses that have just got a skirting board as big as that. Nothing like that, only like that. If the skirting board, you go into a room and it's going to be double the size of what you've seen before in that normal size room, it's quite clear you just allow twice as much paint. But in general, a standard size room, you're not looking at more than a couple of litres of paint when it comes to just doing a couple of doors, a bit of skirting and a bit of door frame. So just be mindful how many coats of paint you're going to be putting on. If you're needing an extra third coat because you're doing the 3-coat system, which is a lot of water-based paint systems are, that's a primer stroke grip coat, and then you're putting 2 coats over the top. So if that's the case, it might not be 2 litres, you might want 2.5. Allow for that. Now, a lot of paint manufacturers work in 2.5 litre tins, particularly with water-based, and a good quality 2.5 litre tin of paint, I would be looking at easily 60 to 70 pounds. Sounds a lot, but it's all allocated to the job. Once you've got all your materials down, and once you've got your actual worked out your hours that you're probably going to be on that job, and you've looked at your days, how many days you're going to be on it, and you're putting all that prices together, you'll see clearly that your labour rate far outweighs the material costs. So when people say about material costs and some paints being more expensive than another, if you are looking at only 5 litres of paint for the walls, and one paint brand might be £100 for a tin, but another paint brand might be 80, do you know what? If it's a case that you want that little bit better paint at £100, there's only £20 in it. Is that a deal breaker? It's not going to be a deal breaker on that complete package price that you're going to be presenting to that customer. So just bear that in mind. Your materials will be a small percentage on that ordinary sized Mrs. Smith's lounge in that 3-bedroomed house that you're working in. If you are working in Chatsworth House, I think you've moved up another element of what your level of painting will be, and you'll be starting to understand the bigger projects that you're actually getting your teeth into. So just to clarify, because people do skip through these videos and miss some things that I've probably mentioned that they should really be listening to. Just to clarify, when it comes to actually getting that complete price together, you've got to be thinking about your prep time, you've got to be thinking about your painting time, you've got to be thinking about those drying times, you've got to be thinking about if you've got time to do the wallpapering, you've got to allow enough time for that wallpaper. You've got your paint costs, you've got your sundry costs, and then you've got that labour is all going to go together, which is including your overhead costs. That will give you that complete price for that customer. Look at that price. Does it sound reasonable for what you're actually doing? Because what you don't want to be doing is selling yourself short. And just so you don't forget, what I'm trying to say to you is, you are not selling your time. When you look at that price, you're not looking at that price, you're looking at what that price is giving that customer for the end result. So you're not selling your time. What you are selling is that transformation. You are selling that customer that dream that they're looking for. And you can go in with your paint and paint brushes and your roller, possibly your sprayer, some wallpaper, and you can give that customer a transformation in that room at a price that they're happy with, that they will accept. I hope this video has just been a little bit of an insight into how you should be looking at pricing up that room. Now, if you've got any questions, please give some comments below. But the next video, what I'm going to be talking about, is something that decorators and customers need to hear. Why do customers think a decorator is expensive, and how we're going to actually fix that perception of why we seem to be expensive. Videos are going to come up at the side. Super thanks, people that are buying me a coffee, those that are doing me a hyper, it's much appreciated. I will see you on the next one. Don't forget, if you didn't see the first video, please check back and look at that as well.